Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Whether or not, oh,
You know what? Don't worry about it. Let's do it like this for now.
I really apologize to anybody out there that might be listening. This is making me want to flip right away. God. So I'm going to have a little hoot here. Hope everybody's okay and happy 420 out there. Stay home.
Yeah, happy 420. That's for sure. That is for sure. Give me 1 second here, Bill. We're gonna bring you on here for a second. Well, I mean, people can hear you, but can't exactly see you. So I'm just gonna put your name up on screen, and we'll go from there.
Not much to see.
No, I hear you. Well, Bill, you are a great resource, and also just a great all-around advocate. I kind of prefaced you a little bit earlier, and while you're smoking that bowl, I'm going to send out that message again. Just give me 1 second so you can take your time. We've got Bill Vandergraaf here, and I asked a question earlier, or I said something earlier that he was going to be on here. We're going to be giving away a prize. So what the prize giveaway question is, so in my intro to Bill earlier, what group did he formerly work for? After he retired from police, I said he joined an organization that advocated for cannabis prohibition ending prohibition. Anyway, what was the name of that? First person to email that to winnipeg420oc@gmail.com wins a prize. Okay, first person, winnipeg420oc@gmail.com, you win the prize. All right, Bill, you're a retired Winnipeg police detective. You're a medical cannabis grower. You're a hilarious guy to get pissed off about something, because you're my favorite guy to hear rant about something. Like, I love it. I love it. It inspires me. So, Bill, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Tell people a little bit about who Bill Vandergraaf is, because I know some of us really know you, but I'm sure there's some new people out there that don't, and they should. So, give her.
Yeah, Steve, thanks for having me on. I haven't been doing much of this lately, but I thought I'd do it for 420 Winnipeg since you asked. So here I am. Yeah, I was with the Winnipeg Police Service. I retired as a staff sergeant in 2001 after almost 29 years. I retired as a staff sergeant in charge of homicide, major crime, and the street gang unit. And it was busy in those days too. After I retired, I got involved with an organization called Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, LEAP, and I've now pretty much ended that since the legalization of marijuana back in 2018. Although I am in favor of seeing a more sensible drug policy regarding all the drugs in our society today. Doesn't seem to me that the war on drugs has ever done anything or accomplished much of anything except make matters worse. And I've held that position since I've left the Winnipeg Police Service and started talking to a lot of the LEAP members, a lot of them in Canada as well.
Yeah, there was a big movement out there. Alison Murden was another one of them, right?
Yes, Allison, she's a good old friend of mine from out east, and there's Randy Long and a few others. David Gratzer was an active Victoria policeman, and he's a hell of a nice guy, and he received I forget what medal he got in Ottawa, I forget what they call it, but anyway, he received that as a result of his drug advocacy measures in this country. Received one of those, what do you call those bloody medals they give them?
The Order of Canada or something?
Order of Canada, I think that's the one, yeah.
That's the other one.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think people want to see some changes in society generally. I think it'll be safer for society, but I'm just happy to see, and I know a lot of people aren't happy to see the legalization of cannabis the way it is today. And but I'll tell you, in my view, it's a big leap forward from the times of the 70s and 80s when people were getting arrested for pipes, residue in pipes. So, you know, maybe some of those people don't remember those days, but I certainly do. And between the United States and Canada, millions and millions of people have been arrested and charged criminally. And I've always believed that that was a wrong system.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, we could talk about, and I'm sure you know more about this than I do, but I mean, some of the things, you know, that I've really enjoyed listening to you talk about from that perspective of the police officer was, you know, like the racial and economic disparities regarding like the prosecution and penalization of drug offenses, and how it really marginalized certain groups and, you know, didn't others.
Well, it's like always used to say, you take one drug dealer off the street, there's 100 waiting around the corner to take over. And it sure seems that's true for the last 50 years in this country and the US. And I mean, you're dealing with human beings and they're devious. And I don't see us ever winning this war on drugs. I see it getting worse, to be honest, unless the government decides to take control of it in some fashion and provide people with not only counseling at the source, but clean drugs, clean apparatus, whatever they're using. I don't like it, and I don't speak to that for the sake of the drugs. I speak to that for the overall public safety of our citizens. We don't need a bunch of needles thrown out on our streets all the time. We should have a system set up in this city particular.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, when you look at the harm reduction values in something like a, you know, safe injection site, or even just allowing for a safe supply, like you're saying, so stuff that's, you know, like, I mean, you want to go do meth or whatever, like, I mean, that's all on you. I mean, cool. But it's probably safer if you can go buy it from someplace than it being, you know, tainted with fentanyl and, you know, buying it off some sketchy guy in a back alley. So,
and you know, meth in some form was legalized around the world. Hitler used it for his troops, to keep them moving along at remarkable speeds, if you will.
yep.
So it's not like this is something new. This has been around for a long time. And now we're letting criminals create it, manufacture it in their toilets and whatnot. I don't like this stuff being around our cities at all. I don't particularly like goddamn criminals manufacturing it and poisoning people on the streets. I don't speak up for the drugs. I hate the goddamn stuff. But we got to do something a little more sensible and take a more proactive approach. It's not working by simply criminalizing and incarcerating people. Every time we lock a drug dealer up, there's another 100 around the corner waiting to take over. So, you know, totally right. It's like the cops are chasing their tails all the time. And we've seen that with marijuana. I saw an interesting article yesterday about the Dr. Kush arrest. And I was reading the Free Press article and I found it fascinating. It was like the officer, I forget who it was, the media relations officer, was almost talking like he had some admiration and respect for the slick operation that was going on. And I say these people are the kind of people that are probably best suited to dealing in the marijuana business and trade in our country. I mean, we don't want hardcore criminals dealing with it, but people that have been in the drug trade for a lot of years should have an opportunity to make well as those that have a lot of money and are involved with the medical marijuana or the recreational pot. You know.
No, I totally agree. I mean, it seems absurd And like, especially like from your perspective, and I can see how you would agree that it makes no sense if we're going to, you know, with the intentions behind legislation to limit the black market, but yet at the same time, the black market exists for a reason, right? Because it fills a void, it fills a need. So if you're not going to do something to eliminate those people from having to fill that need, they're going to continue to fill that need. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to allow them to change over into the legal market to eliminate them from being in the illegal market. If you just say, no,
right,
they can't stay here, they're going to want to stay doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, Al Capone in Chicago sure filled a lot of good needs, and a lot of people got killed during that operation. And I understand he was even up in Canada seeking out good Canadian booze to take down to Chicago in the U.S. So
Canadian Club.
Yeah, so, you know, and the problem with Dr. Kush thing, you know, there are a lot of people that put a lot of money into the trade as it stands right now. I think it'll open up as the years progress. A few people keep fighting, you young people keep fighting, you know, for what you want. But I think that, you know, the view is the illegal operators are cutting out some of these other delivery services and whatnot that are in Winnipeg that are apparently legitimate, according to the Free Press article. I've been out of it for, you know, a while generally, Steve, and
right.
I just grow my own little bit for me and my family and keep it low key. And, you know, now that it's legalized, I don't have much more to say. The regulations will change and change again. At least I hope, and I think they will, with good people, activists and advocates all around the world now.
That's right. That's right. It's almost like a new breed of advocates out there, a new generation fighting a different fight. You know, and before it was legalization, now it's the flaws with legalization.
That's right, but they should not forget that since about what, 1958 or 60s anyway, there was a huge movement to legalize cannabis in this country. And if you watch any of the documentaries that have been out since for a while now, and the fact is, it's been a long fight for a lot of people, particularly on the East Coast and or in Toronto, I should say, and on the West Coast in Vancouver, who fought over these issues for years. And people shouldn't forget that it's been a long time coming to what it is now, and it's not perfect, certainly not perfect. And people are still going to get hurt. And I think you got to be careful with this coronavirus going around now. We're going to have to see some kind of a tax increase in due course to make up on the economic side of it. I think you're also going to see part of that is that unless the laws are changed in some fashion, they're going to go after the illegal dealers a lot heavier because of the tax issue. Tax crimes is what it is amounting to.
Yeah. You know, I would agree that the government, that's one thing that they're not okay with, and that's not getting the money that they think they deserve for you.
And there's an easy solution. Make illegal people legal.
Yeah, that's
And no, we're not saying that break and enter and robbery and murder should be legal. We're saying, come on, let's make some money in this province and open it up a little bit. There's certain, there's ways you can do it. And the more business you got, the more people employed, the more tax money they're taking in. And exactly. I don't see how that's not a win-win situation for all the people in this city or in this country, even those that really don't approve of it.
No, I completely agree. I think that there's a lot towards the idea that, excuse me, we need to have a different approach towards how we understand the issue of legalization of drugs or regulation of drugs in some fashion due for like the harm reduction factors, not for, like you're saying, we're not saying that, you know, we want people to do drugs or we're saying, oh yeah, breaking and entering so you can get money to buy your drugs is okay. What we're saying is maybe if you have a legal supply of it, maybe if, you know, you can get it without having to talk to drug dealers and stuff, maybe it'll be easier for you to maybe not to use it, or to get a good supply of it and not have to go rob people for it. Like, you know, it's maybe have the access to treatment, you know, more openly without the stigma. You know, it has its benefits, and I just don't understand why people don't get that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a matter of offering counseling and help for people who ask for it right at the source.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find a lot more people will seek it out than they do now, because there really isn't any way for them to do that. The Hells Angels and the other drug dealers on the street aren't providing counseling, are they? So
No. No, and that's something that, like, I know, I mean, it's kind of a facetious kind of comment for us to say that, well, maybe they would, but I mean, it is at least nice to know that the progression notion of drug sales and drug legalization is something that's at least being understood from like a more public health aspect than you know, that it was 20 years ago. Remember, like, kind of like with alcoholism. You know, a while it was kind of seen as not real, and then it was seen as like a failing, and then it was like, okay, it's probably a disease. You know,
well, alcohol has been so ingrained into our society. It's like we're drowning in it in some respects these days, particularly with this coronavirus. And don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming anybody for having a few cocktails these days at all. That's not the issue, but we do know it causes a lot of problems. And in my time in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I'll tell you, it was quite evident. And I wish I'd have known a lot better in those days, or hadn't subjected myself to the kind of alcohol it was all about in those days. You know, it's okay to say you're young and whatnot, and hey, you know, you've had your time, old Grandpa Vandergraaf, but I'll tell you what, learn from some of those old guys. That stuff is going to kill you eventually.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot towards the, like you're saying, it's engraved in us in one sense so much that it almost seems like you know, with cigarettes, like we talk about cigarettes now and we think back to how like they used to be advertised with, like, you know, the Marlboro, you know, Ronald Reagan General Electric Hour or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, we kind of obfuscated how everyday they were, and now we know cigarettes are kind of, you know, bad and blah blah blah, and you're not allowed to smoke in public. But that whole, you know, you basically used to have like people smoking everywhere thing is almost lost on some generations. And it's kind of the same thing with alcohol, is that as we, you know, got more, I guess, aware of the illnesses and the detriment it caused to us, it's almost like that stuff kind of got put to like almost like put in a closet, like it was like a back room thing. You know, yeah. The dangers of alcohol maybe aren't as well known as they used to be, because, you know, we try to sanitize it or you know, make it normalized. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not against alcohol.
Neither am I.
I'm not against alcohol. Don't get me wrong. I just don't have any of it in my house anymore, because you know, I don't tolerate it very well. And the biggest problem is not the average guy having a couple of beers after work and whatnot. It's more the average housewife sitting at home during the day, taking drinks from their bottles or their, what do you call them? Those little casks they have now of wine.
The flask things. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of people succumb to all kinds of illness as a result of alcoholism. I've seen a lot of cops too. And hey, it's been about 10, 12 years now since I've had any kind of significant amount of alcohol.
Okay.
Again, but that's about it. And that's not just because I'm old. It's simply because I'm smarter, I think, than I was before.
Maybe. I might go with that one. I mean, I think we all get smarter with as we get older, I hope. But you know, That's each their own, I guess. Bill, I gotta cut you off right away here.
That's cool.
But what I wanted to double check with you, and maybe if you could share some stuff with people, is I know you kind of said you're kind of taking the time off. You don't really do a lot of advocacy anymore. But is there, I mean, I know you're pretty active on Facebook occasionally. You kind of take your breaks here and there. I mean, are you opposed to people following your shenanigans on Facebook? I mean,
Oh no, anything I put out on Facebook comes from my heart. Not often my brain, but from my heart.
genuine answers, my friend.
It's good to see you, Steve. It's good to see you. And maybe I'll get out of the house one of these days and see some of the others out there. Take care.
Let's we'll meet up by the grocery store and we'll say hi 6 feet away from each other.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, brother. You take care. Thank you so much, Bill, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Bill Vandergraaf.
My pleasure, Steve. Take care, people.
Take care, man.